Welcome to the American Institute of Healthcare Professionals video on pastoral crisis intervention and chaplaincy. And this video is going to take a closer look at crisis intervention, but with a pastoral view to it, a pastoral tint to it in itself. Now, pastoral care in crisis encompasses all the basics of crisis intervention, and we will discuss a lot of that in other crisis videos. But for now, we want to emphasize the importance of what is pastoral in the nature of crisis intervention. So while sharing in the same principles of crisis intervention, which looks first to help the individual find equilibrium and again mobility so that they can again find effective cognitive balance as well as the ability to cope with the stressor or the crisis at hand. Pastoral caregivers, in particular chaplains, they look to also meet spiritual needs of individuals of any faith background. So those in crisis, those facing devastation, survivors of natural disasters, they are in crisis and they need crisis intervention, but they also sometimes need spirituality. And so many chaplains can accomplish this, whether on the scene, and some chaplains do ride with first responders, but also it can be in a hospital or hospice setting, as well as within a variety of prison ministries themselves. So chaplains go beyond just crisis intervention, and when they are welcomed, when they are received, they can supply scriptural education, individual and conjoint prayer of the particular believer, intercessory prayer, explaining philosophical worldviews, offering ventilative confession, providing faith-based support, supplying ritual and sacraments, and discussing divine forgiveness and discussions about life and death and the afterlife, which is sometimes something that is very interested for an individual who is in crisis, especially someone who might be facing death or they might be dealing with a life or death situation. So chaplains are present for them, but they're also present for the family who might be experiencing crisis with a loved one, or also first responders who might see something very terrible on scene, or healthcare providers or nurses who are working in the hospital or in hospice that see something very terrible and they need someone to talk to because they enter into a state of potential crisis. Also, to point out, the chaplain is also an advocate for someone in crisis who might be dying and suffering and might need a voice. Maybe the family's not present to give a voice to the staff, and the chaplain is present to do so. Now, there are spiritual limitations of care, obviously. Chaplains, whether in the military or in hospice or serving hospitals, they're not there to evangelize. And if anyone thinks that's the purpose of helping people in crisis, to save as many souls according to one's faith doctrine, well, then this is not the field for you. Chaplaincy is about caring for all of humanity. It's about not evangelizing, but giving peace through spirituality to a particular person of a particular creed, whether it's non-denominational or not. Some cases, it might be a person of the same faith, and then there's less complications. But again, a chaplain isn't there to debate theology. A Christian and a particular Buddhist might have differences on the afterlife. The Christian chaplain isn't there to debate with the Buddhist. That causes agitation. A chaplain is there to bring peace. Now, within chaplaincy, there is confidentiality, but many may not want their presence. Maybe someone is of a different faith and they don't want a particular faith of that chaplaincy present. Or maybe they are secular or atheist or agnostic and the services are not welcome. Now, sometimes a secular individual may just want the company, and the chaplain can talk merely about the past, talk about secular topics, whatever brings peace and reduces agitation. Chaplain might just be there to offer basic crisis intervention. helping restore equilibrium and instill better coping mechanisms for the person who is suffering in that particular moment. One important thing to note as well within limitations is that a chaplain should not perform rites of other faiths or pretend to adhere to the same faith of an individual. That's disingenuous. Instead, they should be very forthcoming and straight, and if necessary, find someone of the particular faith for the individual. If someone needs a priest or an imam or a minister, and you are not that, then you look for someone to be able to do that. Many Catholics look to have last rites performed, and one would need a priest in that particular example. What is most important, though, is that chaplains are at least trained well enough to understand most faith religions so that they can have some discussion with those individuals that is supplemental to the person's peace and not looking for particular debate. So pastoral care has a big role in crisis intervention. Below are our crisis intervention certification links, as well as our pastoral thanatology links, which helps train chaplains for end-of-life care. Our phone number at AIHCP is 330-652-7776, and our email is info@aihcp.org. Our one source was from Evanly, and it talks about the role of pastoral crisis intervention in disasters, terrorism, violence, and other community crises, which was a good article. It wasn't necessarily a textbook in itself, but it did have a lot of good information if you would like to review that. Please also remember to subscribe to our channel as well as like. And I would like to also just thank you for listening and wish you also to have a good day. Thank you.